Hi everybody, and welcome to my video on chords and inversions. This is truly meant for beginners to chords and inversions. This is going to explain some fingering options and some ways that you can identify inversions and to create them. Okay, so we're going to jump right into it, and I'm trying to keep these videos short, so I am going to talk a little bit fast, but you always have the option to rewind. All right, so we're going to take the key of C right now, and then we're gonna venture on to a couple other keys, but let's start at C. C is all white notes. It's from C to C. Remember, our chords are built off, our root of each chord is built off of the chord or the scale, or the first note of the scale. So in other words, the C major chord is built off of C, that's the one chord, and then the D chord is built off of a 2, and the 3 is the E, the 4 is the F, the 5 is the G. I wanted to make sure that you caught on to that. 6 is the A, 7 is B, and then we're back home at an E, at the C at the very top. Okay, so here's the deal. We're going to take the C chord and we're going to look at it several different ways. In root position, the C is in the bass or the lowest note of the triad. So that's what we're going to focus on right now. And in the key of C, this is the one chord, just as I mentioned. If you would wish to make it in an inversion, all you do is you take, let's say you take the root note and you take it up an octave. It's a C here and a C here. All you've done is moved it up an octave. And when you do that, you've created the first inversion C chord, okay? That's all it is. Now, that first inversion C chord will also allow you to find, it also is easy to identify because there's a little bit of a gap in here. I'm not worried about fingering right now. We'll get into that in a little bit. If you look, there's a little bit of a larger gap between notes near the very top. So you've got a fourth in between these two notes and a third here. What do I mean by that? Okay, so the distance between notes is called an interval. And the intervals are so easy. Check this out. It's all math. Here's the first note. Here's the second. So the distance between this note and then this note is a second. That's how easy it is. Guess what the third note would be? A third. Yes, you guessed it. Okay, so I think you get the point. So the fourth, and then the fifth, and then a sixth, then the seventh, and then an eighth, or an octave rather, sorry. So that's the idea by that. So anyway, going back to our first inversion C chord, you'll see that there's a larger gap, a fourth, in between these two notes. That will, for now, that's a nice little way to recognize a first inversion chord. There's deeper ways to get into it, but for us for now, we don't need to know more than that. Okay, now we want to make a second inversion C chord. So let's take the second note of that chord. Here's the first one, we're going to move it up an octave. Let's take the second one, the E, and we're going to move that up an octave. And now we have the second inversion C chord. It's still the same three notes. It's still a C, it's still an E, and still a G. They're just spelled in a different way. So from the bottom up is G, C, and E. So let's do that again, all three of the chords. We're only doing a C chord right now. So in any key, whenever you have C major, triad or chord, triad just three notes, right? It's C, E, and G. And now to spell it this one, it's E, G, and C. So E's on the bottom, you always go up, okay? And then for second inversion, it's G, C, and E. That's second inversion. That's it. So we're going to do this around several chords and several keys, okay? So in the key of C, let's do a root chord, root C chord, okay? Now we want to use the 4 chord because we've learned that the 4 chord really does get played very often. It has a high function in a lot of songs, a lot of music, okay? So the easiest way to get to a 4 chord is by doing the second inversion 4 right there. So your note in an F chord, your notes in an F chord is F, A, and C. If you did it in root position, it would look like this. In first inversion, it would look like this, which is A, C, and F. In second inversion, it would be C, F, and A. It's still the same three notes. What it does is it changes what notes on the bottom is the kind of the key point, or what notes on the top, okay? So, but it's still an F chord, whether I play a first inversion up here, whether I play a root down here, or I play a second inversion up here. It's still an F chord, okay? So the inversion just helps you get to those notes a little quicker, and it's good for voice leading, and we'll get into that way, way down the line. We don't need to know that right now. Okay, so as I was saying, so that's the F chord. Now, in the key of C, the 5 chord is built off of the scale note G. So it's C is the 1, D is the 2, E is the 3, F is the 4, G is the 5, okay? So we're gonna go to this G, B, and D to make the G chord. If you wanna do the first inversion, you take the root note and put it at the top. That's first inversion. So in first inversion, the root note's at the top. There you go, done. That's how easy it is. Okay. If you want to do the second inversion, you would take the first and then you would take the second note of the chord and move that up. Okay. So now you've got a D, G, and B. Okay. So now to make this simple, we're going to do a little exercise that I'd like for you to practice. Okay. It's the 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. So you should be able to practice it like this, and I'll even show you the finger numbers 1, 2, and 4 to start. But that's going to change. But to start, this is where I want you to do it. So it's going to be 1, the 4 chord, which is in second inversion. I'll try to move these other fingers out of the way so you can see it. And then back to the 1, different fingering, catch on to that. And then 5 chord. I'll try to get these fingers out of the way again, and then back to 1. So here's the exercise I want you to try. It's just 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. That's what I would like for you to practice. Let me do it one more time, and then we're gonna try it in other keys. 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. Okay? So keep that one in mind. Now, let's do the same thing in a couple other keys. Let's pick G. It's pretty simple. It's only 1 sharp. F's are all now sharp, okay? So they go up to the neighboring tone, the neighboring black note, okay? So in the G, chord is G, B, and D. That's going to be our 1 chord in the key of G, okay? So if we want to make an inversion of that, we would just move just like I just told you, we would move the root note up there and then so forth. But we're going to start in root position because we're in the key of G. There's your 1. Okay, now I'm going to use these fingers 1, 2, and 4 like I did earlier on the 1 chord because I want to be able to go to that 4 chord quite simply. And look at that, I don't even have to think about what chord it is. My fingers just go there. Boom, there's the 4 chord, and that is spelled G, C, E. Okay, in that order, and I'm using the 1, 3, and 5 there. So if you start off with 1, 2, 4 on the G, B, and D to go to the 4 chord. 1, 3, 5 on the G, C, and E, okay? Now, if you're going to go back to the 1 chord, I would do this, 1, 3, and 5, because you're going to go to the 5 chord. This might get a little tricky. There's our F sharp finally making an appearance, okay? So we've got our F sharp, A, D for our 5 chord in the key of G. Now, wait a minute, you're probably like, wait a minute, whoa, where did you get that 5 chord from? Okay. Gonna make it nice and simple. We started in the key of G. First note, first chord's built off of the 1. Second, the 2 chord is built off of the second note, and so on. And we want it all the way up to the D, which is the 5th note of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can't play the F natural right now because we're in the key of G. It's an F sharp in G, so we have to play a D, F sharp, and A. Now, let's learn some inversions of the D major chord, okay? So this is root position, D, F sharp, and A. If we played it in first inversion, it would be this. F sharp, A, D. If we played it in second version, it would be A, D, and F sharp. Okay? Now, I did that fast, but you can always rewind if you need to. Okay, trying to keep this video short, so I'm doing my best. So let's go to one more key, and we're going to make that one make sense. Let's go to the key of D, okay? The key of D is 2 sharps, the C sharp and the F sharp, okay? So here we go. In the key of D, we just learned the D chord, right? The D, F sharp, and A, okay? Then if we want to go to the 4 chord, it's the same thing. Use that fingering, 1, 2, and 4, because boom, now we're going to our 4 chord very simply. So our 4 chord in the key of D major is actually a G. Isn't that cool? It's just kind of like a circle of fifths. Keep that in mind. Okay, anyway. All right, so in the key, and the chord G here is in second inversion. Okay, it's just an easy way to get to the 4 chord. So we went from root to second inversion G to root. And now here's another tricky chord, an A major chord, C sharp, E, and A. That's how you spell the 5 chord in the key of D. Okay, so the exercise I want you to do here is this: 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, and just repeat over and over and get that down. 1, 4, 1, 5. I almost played a 7 chord, sorry. Okay, you caught me. All right, so anyway, I want you to practice those chords over and over and over and over and over. We will get into different keys, we will get into more inversions, and we will talk about why you would use which inversions, but I want to keep these videos short. So I'll record like a second version, a part 2 to inversions later, and we'll take it step by step. Again, I hope you appreciated this. I welcome all comments because I want to help you. The only way I can is if I know what types of things that you need. Several of you reached out this past week, and it was great to see exactly what you need, because this is exactly what some of you were asking for. Some of you are also asking for more advanced stuff. We are going to do that. I'm just going to do it a step at a time. Okay? So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and rewatch this as often as you want. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.